Most of you have absolutely no idea how powerful you could become because you've never forced yourself to be consistent at anything for more than 3 days. You lie to yourself with goals you never intend to chase. You flirt with greatness, but you never court it. It only rewards the man who shows up regardless. Discipline is showing up when the emotion is gone. Discipline is showing up when your body screams no, when your mind whispers excuses, and when the world gives you every reason to fold. And you say, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. People talk about dreams like there's some kind of mystical force that will appear one day if they just believe. Let me tell you something. Belief without discipline is fantasy. Consistency without intensity is mediocrity. You don't need to believe more, you need to act more. You need to become the kind of man who moves forward even when belief is gone. Because there will be days when the voice in your head will tell you it's pointless, that you're too far behind, that nobody notices your effort. And that voice will feel so real, but you don't listen. Because a disciplined man doesn't need external validation. He doesn't need applause. He doesn't need a pat on the back. The reward is becoming undeniable. And that takes daily suffering, not one-off suffering, not dramatic Instagram post suffering. I'm talking quiet, invisible, uncelebrated suffering, the kind that compounds into power. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how smart you think you are. If you cannot master the art of showing up over and over without exception, you will lose to someone with less talent but more grit. You want to be the strongest man in the room? Then be the most consistent man in the room. It's not the man who trains hardest once a week that wins. It's the man who trains when no one's watching. The man who eats clean when everyone else is feasting. The man who wakes up when it's dark, cold, and silent and still shows up like it's the final round. That's the man who builds something unshakable. Discipline is remembering what you want long after the mood you set it in has left you. And most of you forget. You say you want it, but then you skip the reps, the grind, the hardship. You just like the sound of wanting it. But here's the truth that most people never tell you. Discipline is your freedom. That consistency you hate, that rigid routine, that's the doorway to everything you've ever wanted. You think freedom is doing whatever you want whenever you feel like it? That's a lie. That's slavery to emotion. Real freedom is waking up every day knowing you have control over yourself. That no urge, no distraction, no weakness pulls you off course. That's the life you're trying to build. Not a life of chaos, but one of unshakable structure. You want a calm mind? You earn it through consistent war. You want peace? Then suffer voluntarily. The man who disciplines himself today is the man who doesn't get broken by life tomorrow. Discipline is the armor you build around your soul, and every day you skip it, you leave yourself exposed. I see men with ambition, with vision, with potential, and they sabotage it all because they keep chasing comfort. Comfort is a trap disguised as success. It's warm, it's easy, it's safe, but comfort kills warriors. Comfort dulls the edge of greatness. Every time you skip your morning grind to sleep in, every time you take a break from your diet, every time you say, I'll start again on Monday, you are not resting, you are betraying yourself. And the cost of that betrayal stacks up. It's invisible, but it's lethal. You don't feel it today. You don't feel it this week. But months go by and you look in the mirror and you see a man who could have been something. A man who knew the path, but didn't walk it. But this isn't a death sentence. This is your wake-up call. Because the good news, the real power is this. Discipline is a skill. It's not a gift. You weren't born without it. You just haven't built it. And that means you can change. That means the man you are today isn't the man you're stuck with. You want to be respected? Then earn it. Starting with yourself. Do what you say you're going to do every day until your identity rewires. Consistency rewires your identity, and identity drives everything. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And if your system is based on emotion, you will fail. But if your system is built on discipline, you cannot be stopped. We do not rise to the occasion. We fall to the level of our training. So train like your life depends on it. Because it does. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for the pain to go away. Build your consistency like a religion. Let discipline become your sanctuary. Wake up tomorrow with one mission. Show up better than yesterday, even if it's just 1%. Even if it hurts, especially when it hurts, because the days you don't feel like it, those are the days that define you. Not the easy ones, not the highlight reel moments, but the ugly ones, the hard ones, the lonely ones. That's where the man is forged. And once you walk through that fire enough times, you'll stop needing motivation at all. You'll move with purpose. You'll train without question. You'll build without applause, because now it's who you are. And that is the real reward. There was a time in my life when no one knew my name. No lights, no cameras, no noise, just me. A broken down apartment, a cracked mirror, and a decision. A decision that I wasn't going to live another day as a weak man pretending he was trying. You know what changed everything? It wasn't a breakthrough. It wasn't luck. It wasn't some magic moment where the universe aligned and gave me permission to rise. It was brutal, bone-deep consistency, the kind where no one's watching, where no one claps, where no one gives a damn, just repetition, day in, day out, in silence, in suffering, in total war against the weaker version of myself that begged to be comfortable. There were mornings where the air felt heavy and my body didn't want to move. I didn't have fans, I didn't have followers, I didn't have money. I had silence and a mind that tried to talk me out of greatness every single day. But I learned something dangerous during those years. If you do the hard thing enough times, it stops being hard. If you commit so relentlessly to discipline, eventually it becomes who you are. That's the cheat code no one talks about. It's not motivation, it's not hype, it's not energy, it's identity. You stop being the man who tries and you become the man who does. First, you make your habits, then your habits make you. And those habits, forged in fire and darkness, saved me. I remember training with broken ribs. I remember working 16 hours with no food in my stomach. I remember nights so cold I had to sleep in my jacket because the heating was cut off. You think those were tragedies? I call them blessings, because discipline was born in those moments. Not in victory, not in comfort, but in pain. When the option to quit was loud and logical, I chose to suffer. I chose to endure because I understood something the average man never will. Consistency over time is the closest thing to magic that exists. It doesn't look exciting and it doesn't feel glamorous, but it's the root of every empire. The man who does the boring work better than anyone else becomes unstoppable. And I chose to master the boring. I was never the most talented. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't born rich. I didn't have connections. But what I did have was this insane, stubborn refusal to quit. And that made all the difference. I showed up when I was sick. I trained when I was injured. I worked when I was tired. And every time I did, I took the soul of the man who didn't. Every single day that someone out there skipped, I gained. I grew. I became stronger. That's the truth about discipline. It's not just about progress. It's about dominance. It's about building a version of yourself so relentless that you start to terrify your past self. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even if you don't want to do it. And I lived that sentence. I bled for that sentence. You want the life? Then you better be willing to pay the price. You think there's a shortcut? There's not. You think there's some motivational video that's going to rewire your life? There isn't. You have to go to war with yourself every single day. You want results? Then do the work even when you're uninspired. That's what separates the elite from the average. The average man only moves when the feeling is right. The elite man moves regardless of how he feels. That was me. I'd wake up aching, broken, emotionally drained, and still execute because I made a deal with myself. I will not break my word to me. I might lose sleep. I might lose friends. I might lose comfort, but I will never lose integrity with myself. The world saw the cars later, the houses, the success, the lifestyle, but they didn't see the decade of repetition that made it possible. They didn't see the thousands of hours in empty rooms, the self-talk, the inner fights, the pain. They didn't see the man who was willing to die before he disrespected his own commitment. That's what built me. And that's what will build you. There are no hacks, just habits, no miracles, just momentum. And that momentum only comes from doing what's required long after it stops feeling new. I didn't become who I am because I felt like it. I became this because I refused to be anything else. I chose this identity and I carved it into my bones with consistent action. Not once, not sometimes, but every single day. Discipline is how you bend reality. It's how you destroy the man who always settles. It's how you kill the version of you that makes excuses. That's the war. And the best part, you don't need talent to win it. You don't need resources. You don't need luck. You just need to make a decision and stick to it like your life depends on it, because it does. You want your life to change? Then build a routine so solid that it pulls you forward even on your darkest day. Make it so automatic that it would feel unnatural not to execute. That's power. That's freedom. You don't become disciplined by accident. You become disciplined by choice. And you recommit to that choice every damn day. If you can do that, if you can find peace in repetition, pride in structure, and purpose in the process, there's no version of you that won't succeed. The scariest part, you don't get this life back. This isn't a video game where you respawn when you mess up. This is it. Every day you sleep in, every workout you skip, every time you lie to yourself and say, I'll start tomorrow, you are burying the man you could have become. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. And there's a version of you screaming in silence right now, begging you not to die as a memory of what could have been. You don't have forever. Time is eating you alive. The world doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care how tired you are, how hard your past was, or how difficult your circumstances are. It only responds to execution. That's the brutal truth. The clock is ticking, and every second you hesitate, someone else is taking your spot. Someone else is out disciplining you. Someone else is stacking small wins while you scroll, sleep, or overthink. Discipline isn't just about progress. It's about survival, because the man without it is prey in this world. You think you're safe, you think you got time, you don't. The comfortable illusion that you'll get serious eventually is the greatest scam ever sold. The truth is this: you are either building momentum or you are dying in stagnation. There's no neutral in life. Every moment you delay is compounding against you. Every undisciplined decision you make becomes a habit. And those habits harden into chains. Chains that keep you mediocre, chains that keep you weak, chains that slowly tighten until you look in the mirror one day and don't recognize the man staring back. Look around. The world is full of men who had potential but never found discipline. Men who started strong and fizzled out. Men who said next week until next week became next year, and next year became a lifetime of excuses. If you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. That sentence should haunt you because it's real. The dreams you talk about are on the clock. If you don't make them bleed into your daily routine, they die slowly, quietly, permanently. And the thing is, nobody's gonna save you. No one's coming to light that fire for you. Not your parents, not your friends, not some motivational video. No one is gonna drag you out of bed, force you to train, or hold your hand through success. That's your job. And it starts by killing the voice in your head that keeps saying, not today. Because that voice is the enemy. It wears your face, speaks in your tone, and convinces you that comfort is acceptable. It isn't. Comfort is the coffin of ambition. And the only antidote is discipline. But here's the hope. It's still in your hands. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need more motivation. You need to make a decision right now in this exact moment to never miss again, to never break your word to yourself again, to never allow weakness to speak louder than your standards. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. And once you decide, really decide, life shifts. Not instantly, but relentlessly, slowly, consistently, the man you hate becomes the man you bury, and the man you admire is forged in repetition. You ever think about who you'll be in 10 years? If you keep skipping workouts, if you keep sleeping in, if you keep half doing everything you touch, that version of you, tired, broke, bitter, full of regrets, that version is on his way if you don't slam the brakes right now. But there's another version too, a weapon, a machine, a man with unstoppable confidence and power. He's built through choices made today, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, but today when it hurts, today when it's inconvenient. That's the test. That's where greatness is earned. And make no mistake, everyone feels the pain, everyone has fear, everyone has doubt, but the men who rise, they move anyway. They act in defiance of their emotions. They bleed into the routine. They find glory in the grind. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently. So ask yourself, what have you been consistent in lately? Avoidance, distraction, excuses? Or have you been hammering the fundamentals so ruthlessly that discipline is now your default? You want to be powerful? Then master boring. Fall in love with repetition. Make discipline your religion. Because if you don't, someone else will. Someone else will use the same 24 hours to outwork you, outlearn you, outgrow you, and they'll take what you thought you deserve. That's the game. It's not fair, it's not kind, but it is yours to win if you choose to suffer now and conquer later. One day you'll wake up and it'll be your last shot. You won't know it until it's too late. So move like your future depends on your actions now, because it does. Don't wait for a rock bottom moment to change. Choose to change when it's still hard, when it still hurts. That's real power. That's real freedom. The discipline to move when it's easier to stay still. The consistency to act when no one's watching. That's how you earn a life most men only dream about. That's how you win this war. The truth is, most people will never make it. Not because they're weak, but because they keep making temporary decisions in pursuit of permanent results. They chase hype, not habits. They sprint for 2 weeks and quit on the third. But this game isn't about speed, it's about stamina. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. And that's the war most will never win, because it's fought in silence. It's not dramatic, it's not flashy, it's brutal repetition when nobody's clapping. Every great man you've ever admired, he wasn't built in excitement. He was built in routine. He didn't rise from convenience, he rose from discomfort. Consistency isn't sexy, but inconsistency is always a killer. Because every time you break your word to yourself, you chip away at your identity. Every missed day whispers, you're not who you said you are. And over time, that voice gets louder until you believe it. But here's the power. You can flip that script any day you choose to lock in and never miss again. You don't need motivation, you need conviction. You need the fire that doesn't fade when the mood changes. You need to decide once and for all that discipline is who you are, not what you do when life feels good. Because the storm's always coming, and when it hits, it's not the strongest who survive. It's the most consistent. The ones who built the armor of routine long before the pain arrived. You either build yourself in peace, or you'll be forced to rebuild in chaos. That's the deal. The man who trains daily, the man who eats clean without debate, the man who wakes up early and moves with purpose, he's not superhuman. He's just consistent. That's the difference. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So stop waiting for the perfect plan, build perfect habits, and let those habits drag you through the days where your mind tries to lie to you. When it says you've done enough, reply with actions. When it says take a break, reply with dominance. When it says no one will know, reply with, but I will. You want real power? Stop celebrating the finish line and start worshiping the process. Fall in love with being relentless. Not once, not twice, every single day. Because real freedom isn't doing what you want. It's being so consistent that success becomes unavoidable. That's what nobody tells you. Consistency removes the guesswork. It builds a version of you that doesn't negotiate with laziness. It creates a legacy that doesn't depend on emotion or inspiration, just execution. There's a reason most men never break through. They flirt with greatness, but they never marry it. They dabble in effort, but they never drown in it. They want the reward, but avoid the routine. But you don't get results from what you do occasionally. You get results from what you do consistently. And until that becomes non-negotiable, you'll always live beneath your potential. The world isn't moved by potential, it's moved by results. And those are earned through discipline, repeated so often that failure no longer fits. You have no idea how close you are. You'd think nothing's working because the results aren't loud yet, but growth doesn't scream, it whispers. It hides in the repetition, it builds in silence.